Hey everybody, it's Brian Burns. Welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Hey, I want to make sure you're all aware I've got show notes. And to find them on the iPhone, you just swipe up on the podcast, depending on what podcast player. If that doesn't work, I would go onto YouTube and just say, how do I find the show notes for this podcast player that you're using? It should be super simple. Why I bring this up is I got all my links in there to all the partners and all the deals that they are offering for you to get a 1 month free and check out their products. We got Nudge and Pipedrive, Discover Orgs in there, and a couple of other partners that are less specific to the podcast, but products that I have used, I like, and I've worked to get a particular deal for you to check it out and decide whether or not it's a great match for you. And the show notes is the way to do that. Much better than trying to get my attention on LinkedIn. I just get so many notes per day, and unfortunately, I can't respond to all of them. Anybody who sends me a question, I put it into the Sales Questions podcast, which is a separate show that's very focused. There's no real intro into it. I don't talk about any products on it, and I only answer your questions. And I put a description or an update to the course at the very end that you can either skip through or listen to depending on your level of interest. If you'd like to schedule a call with me to see if one of the courses fits where you're at, whether you need to get more meetings or you get plenty of meetings, but you need to get more deals closed, deals bigger, deals faster, better understanding of where you are within the deal and how do you control it and move it faster. I've got courses for both of those things, and you can go to b2brevenue.com under the training tab. There's a calendar link right there. Just click it, pick a 15-minute slot. I have it out, I think, 12 weeks, so you can pick a time. I just asked that you show up, so a couple people didn't show up, so it's kind of annoying. And also that you listen to at least 5 episodes of the podcast, so you kind of self-qualify that what I'm talking about fits what you're selling. It doesn't fit everybody. It doesn't fit B2C that well at all. It's much more business-to-business sales. And typically, the larger the deals, the more applicable it is to you. But before we get into the interview with Mark Smith, I don't know if you know Mark. He's quite active on LinkedIn. He's got a huge following there. And he came highly recommended when I put out a feeler for people to share, great sales leaders. Because I wanted to add that perspective. And I was thinking of using Mark for the B2B Revenue Leadership podcast. But his story, I think, is so applicable to all of us. And his approach is very sincere and honest and transparent that I really think you'll enjoy this. He's kind of getting over a cold, so I ask you to be patient with his voice. It's been a while trying to get him on because he's super busy and it's near the end of the year. But his story and his journey is really interesting. He grew up in an upper middle class family. His dad was an attorney. He was thinking about going to law school. He'll share that story. But before we get into it, I want to make sure you're checking out Co-Video. And earlier this week, I had Dustin on, and he shared his 3 top lessons that he has learned that's really enabled him to crush it now. Now this is a guy, he was a blue collar roofer, basically, in Indianapolis. Now, maybe during the summer that might be tolerable. And he's scared of heights. So he had a bad career choice. And now he's selling Co-Video. And he loves it. They're crushing it. So check out that episode. I think you'll like it. Also with Nudge, they've got a great new capability. Their Chrome plugin now allows you to, on LinkedIn, to be able to highlight somebody's name and find out how you're connected. You get the coupon code is Brutal Truth. You can use that for both Pipedrive and Nudge. And I've got a free course on how to use Nudge on the training site. We go to b2brevenue.com, then the training tab, hit the courses. You'll see it there, how to use AI to fill up your pipeline. The coupon code is NUDGE, the word nudge. Make sure you put that in and it totals out to 0 before you hit submit. No customer support with that class since it's no cost. Let's get into the interview with Mark. I'll sum it up, the 3 things that I learned from him at the very end. And I really appreciate you listening. Everybody, connecting up with me is nice, but the thing that I really appreciate is when you tell somebody about the podcast, where you like, share, and comment on the content that you see with my pretty face. And follow the company page, the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling company page on LinkedIn. Just search for it in LinkedIn, Brian G. Burns and Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling. It's all right there. Let's get Mark on the phone. Hey, Dustin, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Awesome. Well, Brian, first of all, thank you for having me. We're all big fans here at Co-Video. We love your podcast and we love your content. Myself, I guess I'm an executive, account executive here at Co-Video. I'm in sales, I'm in networking, and been doing this since 2011.
It's a long ride, huh? For one sales job, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, they really made it home here, though. It's kind of wonderful because I was not a salesperson when I got here. I wasn't even remotely close or related to tech, but they really welcomed me. They taught me a lot. They made it easy, and I had a lot of really great people to learn from.
What was it like when you arrived? I mean, 7 years ago, video, email was, did it even exist? I'm not sure.
Oh, that's an awesome question. Luckily, I got to skip the survival phase because they got started back in 2004, just bootstrapping it out of somebody's basement.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when I joined in 2011, we'd actually kind of stabilized. Everyone was getting benefits and the market was becoming something. The technology and the audience all the pieces were there. Smartphones were pretty much in just about everyone's hands at that point. Internet speeds were a lot faster, and YouTube created a hunger for video, which has been awesome.
And what made you go into sales versus doing something else at the company? Was it something you were naturally good at, money motivated, necessity?
Yeah. So actually, it was kind of out of necessity. I was, I'm a roofing contractor by family trade, and I've had a hammer in my hand since I was 11. And, it goes back generations, but it was right around 2008, 2009 when I met Ed Mugg. He's one of the 3 founders of the company. And I did the roof for him and his wife at their property.
You sold them, huh?
Oh, yeah. And right around that time, all the industries were obviously suffering pretty big with the heavy hit to the stock market, automotive, real estate, mortgage, construction, huge pains. So I was fighting paycheck to paycheck whatever job I could get, and an opportunity opened up to just do handyman work around the property. So I was cleaning out gutters, I was repairing any damage on the house, painting, doing landscaping. Anything he could do to get a little more cash and a little more income at that time was crucial for me. And then after about 2 years of working for his family and, learning a little bit about what he does, he said, I don't know if this is up your alley, but we have an internship opening up. It's a cold call opportunity. I don't know if you've ever done that, if you're even interested. I said, yes, immediately. I interrupted him because I needed cash.
And it's a little bit safer than walking on a roof all day, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing between you and the ground besides a little cushion that you took from a couch and stripped away the fabric so you'd stick to the roof a little bit. That's pretty much the only protection.
Yeah, I live in an urban area, and my neighbor had their roof done one day, and there was like a good 10 people up there, and we're attached. So I felt it, heard it, and I'm like, they were moving so fast, and I'm like, I don't even think they had any safety harnesses on of any kind. And I'm like, ooh. So sales seem like a whole lot easier than that, huh?
Absolutely. And one thing that kind of helped with that motivation was I'm actually terrified of heights. So
you and me both.
I'm the guy that rips up the amusement park map in the line to a roller coaster and bails at the end of the line. So being on a roof, it's very odd. I'm terrified of all the heights, but up there despite all the danger and everything, that's the one height I felt comfortable and confident with.
And what was your first year like?
At Co-Video?
Yeah.
So it was a whirlwind, man. I had no sales experience, no background in that at all, and I didn't even have a business email. So the closest thing I had to technology at that point was like a Super Nintendo. I could put the cartridge in, play my game. So I upgraded to a smartphone, learned a ton, and at the end of the day, there was a lot of mistakes. And I think that was kind of nice coming in, not knowing anything, making these mistakes on my own and figuring out how to overcome them. It was kind of a wonderful teacher.
Now, back then, did they have any inbound? Did people call in, email in, or was it 100% outbound?
At that time, it was 100% outbound, and we were exploring markets. So we actually got our start in automotive, working with dealerships and vendors that support dealerships. So we had a lot of automotive background. But we connected with APCO or Easy Care, and they actually are a holding company now. But they came in and they gave us pure autonomy, which has been beautiful. But originally, they took the rights to working with the industry that they knew, right? So they took over automotive, and COVID was like, all right, what other markets can we work with? Let's bring some people in. It was me and a troop of Purdue students. So I was the first non-Purdue person on the team, and everyone else was a student. I was trying to work my way back to school at this point. But it was kind of intimidating, but really, really fun.
Well, give us an idea of how your approach has changed over the 7 years. So what have you learned? How did you learn it? And what's working for you today?
Absolutely. So I'd say the biggest thing about the approach that I've changed, and what I wish I would have learned sooner, is to care less. I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, but I'm not talking about caring about the customer. I'm talking about caring about making mistakes, caring about being perfect, executing every call exactly how it's supposed to be. That was a big detriment to me in the early beginnings. My first 30-second video working for this video company, it took me like 3 hours to make.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, right?
That doesn't scale now, does it? That's 3 a day.
Exactly. So the second I threw away the scripts and I started listening to my customers, asking more questions, not really trying to execute the perfect elevator pitch or have all the answers, that's the moment things started to change for me. It's more about that empathy and listening and seeing if you can find a solution together. You don't have to have the answer when you go into the call.
So it's more about being just being yourself, being authentic, quit trying to act like a salesperson, try and connect with people, try and get the conversation going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing I found was interesting is a lot of people that I worked with in those early years, they actually had a stint of doing some kind of construction themselves. So we actually bonded a lot on, working with our hands and accomplishing construction work, and maybe spending a summer doing it as an internship or something like that. And then they never go back. Like, there's something there where if you guys face a similar challenge, even if it's for a short period of time, it really builds connection and rapport, right?
Well, that's it. I guess if you're calling on young guys, say under 30, they've all done something like that: yard work, landscaping, minor construction. I had a buddy in high school whose dad owned a construction company, and they'd pick us up at Saturday morning, and our job was to clean up the site. And you're like, oh, if you're not used to carrying heavy things and, you're bending over, you're in dirt, it's cold.
Right. Working for 10 hours straight.
Yeah. And you come home and it's like, go party. It's like, no way. You're like, I want to take a bath and go to bed. But that kind of, that's real work, right? What we do is, it's cerebral and, emotionally draining sometimes, but it's certainly not backbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. But it can be just as exhausting in so many ways.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to, it's the hardest thing, trying to get people to do things, right? And, people are on their current path, and we're trying to build interest, trying to connect with them. And, we get a lot of rejection. Now, was that something that slowed you down at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was making at least 100 calls a day, and 90% of them were no's. Trying to build and figure this thing out on our own. Me and a few interns. It was really exciting in a lot of ways when you got that yes. But at the end of the day, it was very exhausting, mentally exhausting. You get objection after objection after objection. It really beats you down. Luckily, I had really great support, both in the office and at home. I have some really close friends that were there enduring alongside me, gave me some great venting. My now wife, Erin, was a huge support in those early years, just trying this out. She always had faith in me to really to make it happen, and luckily we stuck with it.
And you were calling at that time, or maybe even still, on automotive dealers? Was that the primary profile?
Great question. So for me, it was a combination of three industries: real estate, insurance, and just financial industries in general, and completely explorative. We hadn't worked really much in these industries before. We had a few here or there looking for us, but at the end of the day, we were creating this market back in 2011. No one was looking for video email yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were just getting into email itself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I think we overestimate, how fast technology has moved.
Mm-hmm.
I look back and it's like, even just the iPhone, although it came out, 10, 11 years ago, it really didn't go mainstream until, probably 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I know people that don't have a smartphone, and you just shake your head. And there's still a lot of people that just, and you're calling on laggards. I mean, those are not the cutting edge industries as far as technology.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because, the people that go into automotive, it's not like people go to college to sell cars, right? It's, it's one of those things. The same thing with real estate. It's like, and insurance. It's one of those things that it's not the Ivy League grads. It's kind of the common folk, and that they're at varying stages of technology. And you chose to use cold calling as the primary prospecting?
Correct. Yeah, we'd do cold calling and make our way through to whoever we can get just to sit down for a quick online demo. So everything was inside sales, cold, and webinar based at that time.
And how has your messaging changed over the 7 years?
Absolutely. So probably the biggest thing that we've changed is that we've kind of flipped our perception of what we're trying to provide. Early on, video email, there was no competition for us. So we basically just made the claim, sold the tool, because there were a few early adopters that they hear that and they just want it because no one else is doing it. No one else has it. I don't care how expensive it is. I want that new shiny thing. So we went from selling the tool to really figuring out the problems that we solved. And now we sell either a painkiller or a vitamin, so to speak. People that are doing well want to enhance what they're doing. We sell, we figure out what their strategy is, what they're doing well, where can we enhance those strengths and solidify their position in that effort. And then the painkiller, obviously, people that are having problems that are noticing their numbers drop and don't know why, we can kind of alleviate that.
Well, let's get into that. That's a big thing for me, is like sell the problem, not the product. Because, everyone's got a product and everybody wants a ton of products, but people only really buy stuff to solve problems. You'll spend much more for an aspirin than you will for a vitamin. Mm-hmm. Right. Because you need the aspirin. Vitamin's nice to have. You can live with it. Well, what is the problem that you guys were trying to solve, or what your customers were trying to solve?
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, the problem can vary from a few things depending on the customer, and really having an explorative conversation is what kind of drums that up. They might know why they're reaching out. They might not know. They just know something's wrong or something's missing, and they're hoping we're the fix. But at the end of the day, the biggest problem that we saw and the biggest reason why we wanted to go into business in the first place and why I really wanted to stay on this team is that I'm a little old school in a lot of ways. I don't like to text. I don't like to go onto Facebook and do direct messages. I don't like to order my pizza on an app. I want to call or go in. So I'm a little old school in some of those human interactions. I get it though. I embrace technology because it's a necessity in today's business and also life. But the reason why I think co-video started is they saw that technology continued to make us more and more efficient, but at the sacrifice of stripping some of that humanity and that relationship from business to consumer or business to business relationships. So co-video their goal is to infuse humanity back into it. Why does everything have to be about the lowest price and commodity kind of transactions when it used to be relationship based? It used to be trust based. And it's hard to do that when you can't actually convey your sincerity and get in front of your customer and make eye contact. A lot of businesses are purely online now, and there's no way for them to actually connect on a human level with customers.
Yeah, because I think everybody's seeing that the text email is, it's been automated to death. So now it's ignored almost completely unless it's hyper personalized. And how much more hyper personalized can you get than video?
Exactly. And we're in this like and thumbs up culture, upvote culture at this point, right? So the biggest thing that hurts us is that feeling of being unnoticed. Right. And that is what we are in the inbox right now. Attention spans are shorter. People expect more from us. But at the end of the day, we're unnoticed. We're invisible in the inbox.
Well, I mean, it went from a double whammy where we had opt-in email automation, marketing automation, and every marketer felt like, oh, if I contact you every day, I'll build a relationship. Not a good relationship. And then sales all of a sudden took non-opt-in email and turned it into a cadence. And I see these cadences, 16 touches in 16 days. And I'm like, I don't think so. I don't know how many people do you want to hear from 16 times in 16 days?
Exactly.
Who's not your child? Right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it was the newest shiny thing at first. And I followed that craze too. Even my email, then I signed up for newsletters, things I was interested in. And eventually I realized, wow, I'm signed up for like 20 different things. And I can't even find an email from my mother anymore. Right. Yeah. So I miss that communication that might be a little more important to me because I'm getting all this fluff and information in my inbox. So, we moved on to Internet 2.0, if you will. We moved a lot of that interest and following onto social media. So email at this point, it's not sexy, and it's more like a chore.
And I see the two industries that you described, automotive, real estate, and insurance, they're all relationship oriented, can easily be viewed as a commodity. Sending pictures, I don't think so. But when you give like a video tour, even you watch the reality shows on Bravo about real estate, they're always recording it on their smartphone for somebody who is not there.
Absolutely.
Because when you hire the staging company and the photographer, those pictures aren't accurate as how it would look like when you show up, right?
Exactly. Even testimonials to this day, online testimonials, there's a problem there now too. People they're doubting everything. They're skeptical of everything. But the one thing you can't fake is a real, authentic, in-life video to somebody, right? They know it's not edited. It looks too low quality, right? It looks like a non-expert made this. So, we're reinstilling that trust.
And that's it. So I'm putting myself in your customer's position. And it's like, well, why would I need this? And it's like, if I was selling a car, because every car, although it, you think it's a commodity, trying to get the right color with the right options at the right year, the right mileage at the right time. That's a very time event-based business. And if the person's, taking, I've seen your customers taking videos of the car, showing the inside and the outside, as opposed to the CarMax 20 pictures that they put in there. And, you can point out the flaws too. You can point out the good parts. I think it's just so much more engaging than, hey, the car's here. And then the person has to go, well, now I got to make a hour investment to go down there. So I can see you really solving that problem for them.
Yeah, and if you think about it beyond the industry, a lot of our purchases are, emotionally fueled, especially large purchases like a home or a vehicle, right? There is a ton of excitement and a ton of fear. People are terrified to make the wrong decision, right? So how do we do that? How do we set them at ease? We got to take it away from the decision and the commodity, right? They're excited about that, but we want to take the fear away. So let's remove the unknowns. I'm a stranger. Part of the fear is the fact that you have to trust somebody with this big decision. You don't, that's why we try to prepare as best as we can, and everything might look great on paper, but we get in there, we're still afraid. So I think that's the main thing, is that we forgot that how emotionally driven purchases are. Those gut feelings of, yes, this is right, or I'm excited, I'm just going to do this. We need to reestablish that connection with the emotional purchase, not in a way that kind of like makes people make mistakes, in a way that helps them feel comfortable with their decision and confident in their decision during and after the fact.
Yeah, and in a consumer's life, those are the two largest purchases: a car and a house.
Mm-hmm.
You might upscale, but those most likely will be. Give us an idea of what your day at work looks like. I'm sure after 7 years, you've got a pretty good routine identified.
Absolutely. So I try to get in a little bit early. We have a gym here in the office, and I usually try to get in a little bit of a workout because it helps me wake up and it gets my mind right for the day. So I think it's really important to get moving or to stimulate yourself in some way, right? Whether it's a mental puzzle or if it's a physical type thing, getting up and having something that you use to greet the day. It could even just be relaxing, right? But having that first, I think, is a key. Then I like to actually greet my coworkers. I find that if you spend a little bit of time purposefully, not distraction wise, to really connect with your coworkers, you're going to find that you're happier, your coworkers are happier, you work better together. And when something comes up, because conflict is important to a good business, if a conflict arises, you have that rapport to approach it respectfully and find a solve that's positive. So that's my morning routine. It may not be perfect, but that's kind of what I like to do. And then I try not to check my emails right away. I think that is it can be a huge burden and it can overwhelm you. So the first thing I do is I look at what I prepared the evening before of what do I want to accomplish today. So I will accomplish that list first, and then I will get into my email, and not just knee-jerk reaction to them. I'm going to scan it first, find what is important, find out what is timely, hit those first, and kind of work my way back instead of just top to bottom mentality of a checklist.
And what would you, or what do you do different today that you didn't do, say, 5 or 6 years ago?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I do a lot better now that I never did is actually building a network of relationships. So instead of just calling for dollars and dialing for dollars, taking my time, right? Getting to learn more about these people, finding out more about what they care about. Who do they know? Are they, do they have any hobbies or habits that they like to really do? So I think getting to know my customers a little bit more to find out how I can build an introduction to someone else I can help, people that they care about. I think that's really important. So I really focus a lot on LinkedIn, making connections there, making sure that I'm not just posting content, but I'm sharing other people's content. I'm commenting on it, really trying to give more instead of just expecting. So I think that's the biggest thing. Is it used to be, I will give you if you give me in my early years. Now it's, I will give you And then maybe I'll get something in return, hopefully a good, strong relationship and trust.
It's good that it only took 5 years, but it usually takes about 25 to 30 years for some people to figure that out. Why aren't these people giving me things?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I got into this at like 25 and no experience. So I fell on my face quick enough and often enough that, maybe I had an opportunity to learn a little bit quicker in today's given age and technology and availability.
Well, that's it. I think, and what I've seen, that's the number one thing that I see with reps that aren't being successful is they think it's someone else's job to buy your product. And, you might be if they're already an existing customer or you're a big brand, but most likely, no, it's not their job to buy your product. It's our job to persuade them to be interested and get the value out of our product. And that doesn't happen in a 3 or 4 to 5 minute phone call.
Absolutely.
I would think with your product, it takes, an awareness. You build up some curiosity. You do a trial. They get some level of interest. You keep the interest moving, and then the light bulb goes off. That all of a sudden they're used to it. They're not scared of the camera anymore. They don't have to do their makeup and blow out their hair before they send an email. And that's it, because people comment on me, why do you do those videos when you're walking? I go, that's when I think of my ideas.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go take a shower, get into my suit and stand in front of the camera. It's like, I'm out there, I have my phone with me anyway, and boom, you get some ideas going and you get 2 things done at the same time.
Absolutely.
And do you coach some of the reps that come and start at Co-Video?
Yes, absolutely. And really the first thing that we focus on is, low-hanging fruit, whether it's a rep coming to Co-Video or if it's a new customer. Obviously, everyone wants to make money, grow their business, etc. I like to try and slow people down, right? I want them to be comfortable. I don't want them to have that high pressure kind of feeling. So when they come on, they're coming on because they want to use this as a sales tool. But the first thing I suggest to them is not to use us for that. I ask them to take a moment to look at some of their favorite customers, friends, partners, whoever it may be, anyone that they worked with or sold or didn't sell in the last month to 3 months. Start sending thank you videos first, right? There's no pressure there. It's usually a happy audience. It gets you used to looking at the camera and paying attention and also paying a little bit less attention, at your mannerisms, etc. So I try to get them to go along those routes first, and then we introduce the sales concept. And really, a lot of people try to make video bigger than it is, more of a production. Like you're saying, you don't have to go press your suit and to do your makeup or anything like that. Really, it's a natural interaction, and it's the exact same thing you say on a voicemail. The exact same guidelines. You're concise, you're purposeful. And at the end of the day, you're smiling, because if you're leaving a good voicemail, you're smiling when you talk, right? So it's the exact same thing, except now I get a redo button every time. I'm terrified of leaving voicemails. I hate it. It's the worst thing for me, because I never know when I'm going to start rambling, and I never know when I'm going to get an opportunity to re-record that voicemail. It's always different, right?
Yeah, different key.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, I really appreciate your time today. Where do people go to connect with you on LinkedIn and learn more about Co-Video?
Absolutely. You can search Dustin Co-Video, Dustin. I'm named after Dustin Hoffman. My dad loved him. So Dustin, and then Co-Video is Covideo. Probably easier than my last name, Bomas. B as in boy, A-U, M as man, I, S as in son. But I'm the only Dustin works here, so you'll probably find me.
Hey, Mark's a great guy. So here's the 3 things I got out of Mark. And I didn't know him before this interview. I heard his reputation was super good. I seen his posts on LinkedIn, and I liked them. And I think they were very well thought out. But the number one thing was just that honesty. I think you really felt that, where he was honest about, how lucky he was to grow up in Southern California, with parents that, mom didn't have to work. Dad was an attorney, got to go to a great college, was honest with himself about going to law school. Too many people, I think, go to law school and then figure out that it's not for them. Totally get it. I couldn't possibly do it, both intellectually and from an interest standpoint. But being honest about yourself, about the situation you're in, the realities of it. Too many sales managers, sales leaders get delusional. They get their process and their numbers and their spreadsheets in the way of what really matters, and that's the quality. And I've talked about this a lot. It's like focus on the quality of your day, the quality of your calls, the quality of your actions versus the volume of them. And because volume can be faked. You can rationalize volume. You can rationalize quality a little bit, but you're the one that pays for it. Too many of us are focused on just the number of activities versus the results. And the results is a lagging indicator. So how do we build off of that quality? What kind of calls did I have today? Were they qualified? Did I qualify them properly? Did I do enough research? Did I really talk to them about what they cared about? How could I do better? That is what's going to get you further. Number 2 is be humble. Especially as a leader, meaning that you've got to assume that you're not perfect. I think we got that from Dustin earlier this week. And look for better ways. Listen to other people. The people who are doing the job probably have a better handle on it than the people managing the people doing the job. And I think that kind of came out through Mark's talk. And that's what I got out of it. And it's very unusual to hear that from a sales leader. Too many people, what I hear from a lot of leaders is, sales is sales or marketing is marketing, no matter where you are. And I couldn't disagree more. I've gone from, one company that sold the same type of product into the same market to another company, almost identical. And it was so different. And I see this all the time, territory to territory, year to year, quarter to quarter. It's so contextual. We're playing a game every day. We're performers. And the rules of the game are slightly different every day. The summer is very different than the winter, not from just a weather standpoint, but from people's temperament. Are they available, what they're thinking about, what their priorities are? And we have to be open to that. And that goes into number 3, which is flexible. Instead of finding something that worked at one time in one situation and assuming that that's going to transcend your whole career, you have to be flexible and adapt. Stick to some core principles, but also understand that things have changed and things are going to continue to change. And we got to adapt, but not also just follow the shiny object. I hope you enjoyed that interview. I really did enjoy it. I wasn't going to put it out for a while, and I was going to put it out on the kind of the leadership podcast, the B2B revenue leadership show. But I think reps will get a lot out of it because they'll understand what it takes to become a leader, move up into management, and make it about the reps and getting success and helping other people. And that is what really works. So I hope you enjoyed that. I've got Discover.org coming up next. We're going to be talking about selling to leaders, selling to people in different situations, and their company's just on fire. We had the guy from G2 Crowd on last week. Discover.org is just crushing it on G2 Crowd, as is Gong. Gong's killing it. Chris Orlob, I can't wait to have him back on the show. He's going to give us an update on their product that's really evolving fast. So make sure you're checking that out at discoverorg.com. And come on by my site, b2brevenue.com. Look in the show notes. If you don't know how to get them, go to YouTube and just get a quick video on it. Super simple. On the iPhone, you just swipe up. and I'm not sure how you do it on the other players. I've started using Castbox as well. I find that's really good. And Anchor FM, I think, is coming out with an app. So I'm glad that Apple's going to get some competition. That their app is it's catching up, but it's still, I mean, they just changed it again, so it makes it harder to find the shows. So make sure you keep mine up there at the very top, and we'll see you next time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode. And I really would appreciate everybody who goes onto LinkedIn, connects up with me, or follows me there. If you happen to see some of my content flying by, if you could throw a little thumbs up or a comment or a share, I definitely appreciate it. It helps spread the word about the podcast. And make sure you're checking out my website, b2brevenue.com. You can get my free book on how companies make product selections. It's a real book. It is on Amazon, but I give it away for free. Just register there. It'll email you a link to it, and you can just download the PDF from there. Also, if you want to check out the courses, start the conversation, get the meeting, or closing the complex sale, and you have more questions about it, the short answer is there are video courses. You get access for a year, but it's also a community. What does that mean? You can ask questions anytime via voicemail or email. I answer them within a week, put them into the course. We have office hours every other week. It's an hour long course where you can I pick a topic, answer questions, you can ask questions. Also, you can schedule one-on-ones for free, and we just talk through your particular use case, and that gets shared with the course. So if you don't have time for office hours, or the timing doesn't work, or you just want some more one-on-one help, that's all included for a whole year. So it's really a year to go from where you are to where you want to be. And so it's not just videos. It's not just knowledge. It's practice. It's getting feedback. You can send me emails. You can send me your presentation. I'll help you with anything that you need to close the complex sale or get the meeting. And you can check out them at b2brevenue.com. So that's it. I really appreciate it. And please tell somebody about the podcast and let me know if I can help you in any way. Oh, and you want to hear some results from the course? Well, here you go.
I love the approach. It's working for me just fantastic. If I sent you some of the emails, which I should, the conversations that I'm having with people, I think you'd be blown away because they're not really about work. Yeah. I've figured out if you can kind of get personal with them, like one lady, it's all about her family, kids. And then I sprinkled in a little bit around work, and she's LinkedIn, sending me messages on LinkedIn, photos of her family. No, I'm not even kidding. I should show this to you. You'd be stunned. I was shocked. And we're going to lunch on September 6th. And yesterday she shot me a LinkedIn message and said, "Hey, Ron, why don't we get on the phone and do a video call beforehand so our lunch isn't so awkward? We're like barely not meeting each other for the first time." Oh, holy cow, right? Like, this is unbelievable. So this is not the first time that this has happened. She's kind of an extreme, but I'm starting to figure out a pattern where I can actually make this a process, So
good. Yeah.
I'll show you that. So it's getting to that point. And every time I do this, I'm like, God, this is unbelievable, So,
and it feels better too, doesn't it?
Oh, Brian, let me tell you something. To be able to go to lunch with her, I'll even talk to her on the phone, right? We're going to talk about family, kids, work-life harmony, because I shared a thing with her from Bezos about work-life harmony. This is where the conversation will start. Now, at some point, we're both not stupid, right? We know we're going to talk about work. We know why we're both there. Right. But to kick it off this way is so much better. And to end that lunch with the last 5 to 8 minutes of telling, well, what are you guys doing with digital